Here we are. Welcome, everybody, tonight. I'm your host, clean, freshly, freshly freshened up for this stream. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not here to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about a wide variety of topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective, one that I think reflects that of an average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years, non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the Word, day in and day out, trying to do better, trying to do it better, try to walk a path closer to Christ than I did the day before. Some days I'll do it right, some days I'll do it wrong. But either way, I'm going to be on here talking to you and giving you my honest takes and impressions. So if you're somebody who's interested in learning more about Jesus, learning more about Christianity, maybe there is a voice in the back of your mind wondering if there's more to your existence than just your life here on earth, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm hoping you're going to get something out of this, a place to hang out, maybe find some answers, get some impressions of what Christianity is about, not from the top level, from people who know much more than me, studied much more of the Bible, languages, history than I have, but get the layman, get the average guy. If you're going to walk into a church, I might be somebody that or somebody like me is you might run into, and maybe get your impressions from there, because there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of stereotypes revolving around Christianity, the Bible, and church. A lot of people think that the Bible is a dry, boring book of rules and judgments. And while there are rules, laws, and judgments in the Bible, there's way more content to that. There's way more to experience. And Eve, this is discussing outside of the fact that it shows you exactly what we need to do to reach salvation. There's content there to draw you in, to get you to pay attention, and from there understand where we have come as a people, why God loves us, and what's in store for us later on. Impressions of it, anyway. There's origins, there's prophecy, there's kings, there's battles, there's sacrifice, betrayal. There's the foundations of our very church, all in this book, and much more than that. And we're going to find that day in and day out as we are going through these Bible readings that we're doing here. And what you'll find is that there's so much more content just in a chapter or two than you ever thought before. And you might also have heard that churches can be a place of self-righteous, sanctimonious, stuck-up, dry folks looking down on other people and performing some sort of weird societal rituals to better place themselves in their communities. And while there are bad churches out there, make no mistake, there's always going to be bad actors out there, folks that are looking to take advantage of your spiritual vulnerability. There's also very good churches out there, churches that are going to help you grow in your faith, understand things, be a community, be a family of Christians, brothers and sisters under God, communing the way that it was always intended. People that you can lean on when you need help, and people who will lean on you. Share laughs, share tears, and help each other address life's obstacles as they hit us from time to time. So with that said, if you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Got a great chat, lots of regulars that come in here. We'd love to get you involved as well. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's a very comfortable, relaxed, informal setting where we just want to hear what your impressions is. whether you have been a Christian all your life or you're just getting your toes into the water on it. Let me know what your impressions are. Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? What are we discussing that you might have some personal experience or insights with? Share knowledge that you have. I'm not the smartest person on the planet. I'm not even close. Not even close to being the smartest person theologically. Theologically, I don't even know if that's a word or if I used it in the proper context. But either way, you might know something that I don't, and you probably do. So share it. Share it. Make this stream better. And if you like the stream, if you like the content here and you want to support it, like and subscribe, like the episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, come and visit me when you can, and contribute. Share the stream with people that you think might be interested in it, people who you think might need it. The best way to support this channel is to help it grow. We're small now, and that's great. And if it stays this way, that's no big deal. But what if we could do much more and reach a broader audience? That would be great. That would be something that would, I think, make things better for the world in general, right? More of me, more of the chat, more of not getting copyright claimed, which I'm still good on after last night. One short movie clip and 2 songs. Welcome everybody to the show. Nico, Emmanuel, how's it going, buddies? How y'all doing? Doing well, I hope. Doing well. Last night was a good stream. Last night was a long stream, but it was good. And when I got off, I got to fire up the show 2023 on my Xbox and play a little bit of that. Looking forward to baseball. Opening day is tomorrow. The Reds are playing the Pirates. 2 teams that are terrible. One team that I root for, the Reds. We're terrible. The Pirates are going to be terrible. They're going to play terribly. I'm going to lower my expectations like I have the last few years with the Reds, and I did this year with the Devils. But the Jersey Devils came out and surprised me this year, and we're going to the Stanley Cup. Well, the playoffs anyway. We might be booted in the first round, but it was good. It's a lot better than we were. A lot better than I expected, which was a losing season. So, Emmanuel Osorio, describing exactly how it felt last night. A fun stream. Every stream should be fun or serious. It should be impactful. You should come up with some solid impression, and felt like this was a good stream. There are times, like I said, the last few weeks, I felt like I was dragging, not doing that great. Last night was a good one. We had music. We joked about not having music. I still think those 2 quotes from Martin Luther and from what is it, Adam Wesley or John Wesley? I don't know. I'm not a Methodist. Still cracking me up. And I didn't even know. Look, you learn something new every day. I didn't know. I just knew that there were non-instrumental churches out there. I didn't know how many of them there were, and I didn't know how far back they did. But man, guys, you gotta have. I mean, you don't have to have instruments, but sometimes that extra spice makes the food better. You still eat. It still might taste great without it. But why not if you can? And it doesn't say you can't. It's going to be an interesting discussion if I can ever nail Nick down on a date and time to talk about libertarianism in the Bible, right? Or and faith. Where do we land with that? Love to get some of his impressions on that. All right. So last night, past few nights, we've been covering King David in Chronicles. That's how far we're at. We're in First Chronicles, about midway through. A little bit past midway, but still in the middle of it. Still got several books to go in the Old Testament during our read through. Some big ones too. But right now we're discussing the Kings, the Chronicles of the Kings, first book. Saul was briefly touched on, and David, of course, will have some significant content. And we're talking about basically not his rise to power, but once he has it, once he's become king. And I think that if you missed the streams when we were talking in Samuel, when we were covering Samuel, discussing David as a youth, the two youths, Jonathan and David. David was awesome. Of course, it takes very little attention to what's going on in Samuel to see why the Lord is so fond of him. He's got a big heart. Well, blessed in many ways, physically, but a big heart and a dedication to the Lord. And so much of his faith and confidence is a credit that he credits rightfully to God's blessing. And because he is faithful with those blessings and his confidence and his faith, he is given more and more and more, finally culminating with not just the crown over Israel, but also understanding that his son will build a house, will be the one to build a house for the Lord. And he won't even realize how big of a deal his son, who still hasn't been born yet, will be as well to the kingdom. David is at the zenith right now of his banner carrying for God, his faithfulness. Every step is a step with God in mind. And I'm not saying that he was perfect in everything and that he didn't have a sinful thought here or there, but his actions were very much in line with the expectation that God has for us. He's brought the ark back, something that his predecessor Saul did not do. He brought the ark back to Jerusalem. And now we're going to talk about some of his martial prowess as a warrior, as a general, as the commander-in-chief. And yeah, it's Wednesday, so Nernaeth isn't going to be here. But our old friend Joab's going to show up. Because remember, he's still alive now. He's still alive at this time. All right. Let's get into this. Might be a short stream tonight, guys. Might be a short stream. We'll see. Chapter 18, David's victories. Whoa, by the way, good evening, Porcupine. How's everything going? In the course of time, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them. Of course he did. He beat the snot out of them on a regular basis. Of course he's going to eventually subdue them. Eventually they're going to be like, we've had enough. And he took Gath and its surrounding villages from the control of the Philistines. David also defeated the Moabites and they became subject to him and brought him tribute. Moreover, David defeated Hadadezer, king of Zobah, in the vicinity of Hamath. When he went to set up his monument at the Euphrates River, David captured 1,000 of his chariots, 7,000 charioteers, and 20,000 foot soldiers. Apparently, some of those chariots didn't survive. He hamstrung all but 100 of the chariot horses. All right. So cavalry's not as much of a thing at this point in the Middle East. It's your cavalry is basically your chariots. Your chariots are your mobile, armored soldiers. They're generally professionals, and they can do a lot of damage. It's not just a guy on the back on a wagon being pulled by a horse. It could be one horse, could be two horses. The wheels may not have blades pointing out of them. The chariot area is armored, giving them protection from arrows, giving them protection from swords, and the mobility and the speed of that, especially combined with multiple other chariots, makes for a difficult foe. And I don't think I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any chariot warfare myself. It's not something I've ever found myself in on the battlefield. If the horse is struck down, your chariot may crash, might even tip over, but you are not as likely to be thrown like you would off of a horse. Chariots are a big deal with armies. They are a force multiplier. And they are costly, right? There's wood. You've got the wood, you've got the horses, you've got the iron that you're using for the armor. You've got the training, you've got the craftsmanship and the artisans to put it all together. And there's upkeep involved as well, right? These are weapons for organized militaries, funded militaries. Capturing 1,000 of those chariots and 7,000 of the men trained on using those, it's a big deal. 20,000 foot soldiers on top of that. And then he basically killed the horses. When the Arameans of Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David struck down 22,000 of them. He put garrisons in the Aramean kingdoms of Damascus, and the Arameans became subject to him and brought him tribute. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. So yeah, David's in a fight with this guy, beats the army. Arameans are like, whoa, hold on. I got you, fam. Coming in. Nope. I beat them up. I'm going to take you too. And not only that, I'm going to turn you into a puppet state, basically. You're going to pay me. Everybody's paying tribute to David. Thank you, Porcupine. It doesn't occur to me as easily because I'm just reading off of my other screen. There we go. Oh, wait, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. There you go. David David took the gold shields carried off by the officers of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. From Teba and Kun, the towns that belonged to Hadadezer, David took a great quantity of bronze, which Solomon used to make the bronze sea, the pillars, and the various bronze articles. So David doesn't know that yet, but as much as David longed to provide a house for the Ark of the Covenant, for the seat of the Lord, he does a lot securing resources that will end up being used for it, like bronze. And remember, gold's a precious commodity. It's the precious metals basically, and bartering is the economy. We don't have a Fed at this time, even though everybody's a Fed. We don't have a federal bank at this time. Banking's not a thing yet. So taking these resources is paramount to the security and success of Israel. David is doing this left and right, beating the Philistines, the Moabites. They're bringing him tribute. That means you're taking resources away from your foes, your enemies, and using them to benefit you and your people. If only nations like still did that today. Oh, wait, some of them do. It's just not ours. It's like we give tribute to other people, other nations. I take that back. Giving tribute to people, we're a blessed nation. Charity is great to do. There's a lot of people out there that are in need. That's not what happens. When the government gives aid out, it generally doesn't go to the people who need it. Great example of this is the beginning of Black Hawk Down, right? In Somalia, they send the Red Cross is sending food and everything packages. Who secures it? The warlords. And what do? They give it to their people. Their soldiers all get it first. And if you fight over it and these people are desperate because their kids are dying, they are dying, they'll shoot you. They don't care. So basically, all you did was give resources to the enemies who were causing the problem in the first place. Nations do such a terrible job. Governments do such a terrible job with charity. It's insane. It's insane. Private organizations, they generally get down into the good private organizations, not all of them. Good private organizations are down in the weeds, in the bush, so to speak, and know where the money needs to go, where the resources need to go in order to reach the people who really need it. It shows that David was a consistent man of God. When he was man of God, he was great. And screw most governments. They say, we will print more money. It'll be fine. It'll be cool. We'll just print money. There's a meme with Monopoly where it talks about the bank never runs out of money. It's real hard. In fact, I'm going to find it. Hang on. I'm going to find it and read it because I got time. I got time tonight. Wait. Oh. Stop that. I just want to see all the pictures. All photos. Here we go. In Monopoly, Rule 11, what if the bank runs out of money? Some players think the bank is bankrupt if it runs out of money. The bank never goes bankrupt. To continue playing, use slips of paper to keep track of each player's banking transactions until the bank has enough paper money to operate again. The banker may also issue new money on slips of ordinary paper. Sure is. Monopoly knows how the game is. The game recognizes game there. So, and yes, for the most part, David, at this point, David's running hot. David's got a streak of righteous acts, and I feel like that's talking about his deeds, but it's not so much his deeds. His deeds are a result of his heart and his faith, right? His love for God, his trust in God. And he is consistently like that. We haven't reached where his total screw up. But up until then, dude, he is firing on all cylinders. All right. When Tou, king of Hamath, heard that David had defeated the entire army of Hadadadadadazer of Zobah, he sent his son Hadaram to King David to greet him and congratulate him on his victory in the battle over Hadadadadazer. I keep messing his name up on purpose, guys, because I think it's funny. Congratulate him on his victory in battle over Hadadadadazer, who had been at war with Tou. Tau. Whatever. We're going to call him Tou. Hadaram brought all kinds of articles of gold, of silver, and of bronze. King David dedicated these articles to the Lord, as he had done with the silver and gold he had taken from all these nations, Edom and Moab, the Ammonites, and the Philistines, and Amalek. Abishai, son of Zeruiah, struck down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. If you want to know where the Edomites come from, they come from Esau, Jacob's brother. Those are ultimately his folks. Maybe we'll get into that one other day. We've talked about it before, but this was before many of you were listening to this stream regularly. He put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. Okay, now we'll talk about it. He put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. Let's go back to Jacob as a kid, all the way back to Jacob. It's important when you recognize it, and I won't always catch this, but when we recognize it, the point when prophecy comes true. This is long after Moses wrote Genesis, by the way, guys. Jacob and Esau. All right. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. This is back. Remember, at this point, the Israelites, there is no Israelites. There's Abraham, and he lives in Canaan, in the promised land. He leaves this. Jacob leaves this to go live with Joseph. But he's living among the Canaanites in the promised land. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled with each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When it came time for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Jacob was a bit of a mama's boy. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. There's some context there that I'm missing of what Edom means and why he really needs the red stew. I don't know. Jacob replies, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Lots of stuff here. This story hits quick, comes and goes real fast, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It almost seems sarcastic, right? Like this is just the quibbling between two brothers. Jacob's poking fun at him. But there's a more serious side to this as their relationship breaks down, but eventually mends. Esau comes in hungry, wants food, needs food. He could have just asked Jacob to make him some, or made some himself, or asked his mom to make it, or something. He doesn't say anything about him being on death's doorstep other than he said, "Look, I'm about to die." And so Jacob says, "Sell me your birthright." Maybe Esau's being a little extra. I don't know. Maybe Jacob, who is a bit of a jackass at this point in his life, is doing it because he's an opportunist. But the real problem here is that Esau, instead of putting it on Jacob, sins himself. His birthright is important. This is part of the culture. This is part of there's importance here. There's responsibility to God as the head of the household. And he sells it over some stew and saying, "No, I would never sell you such a thing. Why would you ask that of me, brother?" He said, "No, it's no good. My birthright is no good to me." Maybe he doesn't like being out in the country. Or maybe he doesn't like the idea of being responsible. Maybe he'd rather stay out in the woods hunting and not managing the business, because Abraham was very wealthy and Isaac inherited that, and Jacob and Esau were set to inherit that as well. And then it comes out later when Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith's daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basemath was Semeth, I think is what, but I say Basemath because that's what it looks like. Daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Why are they a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah? Because Judith is a Hittite and Basemath is a Hittite. They're not from Abraham's family line, right? They're not part of that family. They are from another nation. And he was specifically commanded not to do this. So Esau makes his own mistakes. Esau's kind of a man's man in the fact that he's probably great to have a beer with, great to go hunting with. He probably has a whole lot of knowledge of the outdoors. Like I said, probably a fun guy to be around. But he's that guy, he's that friend who doesn't make good, responsible decisions. The guy that you'd like to have a beer with, but you don't want him running. You don't want him running the ship, so to speak. What's going on, Dresden? Glad to have you here, as always. And what ends up happening is Jacob, when Isaac is on his deathbed, he can't see very well. Jacob ends up tricking Isaac into thinking that he is Esau. Because remember, Esau is still number one in Isaac's book. And Isaac officially gives his firstborn's blessing to Jacob. And there's a whole story involved with that. We don't need to go over it right now, but what we'll do is we'll say this. After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came in, and I blessed him. And indeed, he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And he said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." And so Jacob flees. He gets out of there. And he has his home. He's got a whole lot of adventures that he gets into. Meets his wives, his first two wives. And at some point, here we go. So Jacob prepares to meet Esau. So he's on his way. He's basically fleeing, leaving where he was at, but he's taking a lot. He has made his own fortune and started his own family. And so now he is heading out from there. And he's running into Esau. And Esau, he's got his own horde of people because he's married into the Hittites. And I'm sure that he has grown powerful indeed. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of them to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban, his uncle, and Esau's uncle, and have remained there until now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, male and female servants. Now I am sending this message to my lord, that I might find favor in your eyes." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you with 400 men are with him." In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, and he prays for deliverance from Esau. He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. So a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of stuff. He's going to use this as tribute, as an offering, as a payoff, as a, hey guys, I know that we didn't leave we left on pretty bad terms, but I want to make it up to you with this. Please don't kill me with your 400 men. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, "Go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds." He instructed the one in the lead, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to, and where are you going, and to whom and who owns all these animals in front of you?' then you are to say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are gifts sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us.'" And so he puts those, and then Jacob wrestles with the Lord. And there we go. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front. So these are the 12. These are the 12 kids, his sons, all of them. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He's still a bit of a jackass in that regard. He's hiding behind the women and children. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel. Okay, so Benjamin hasn't been born yet. Came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What is the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met?" "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." And it's a great reunion. But again, and I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but it's a great reunion. But ultimately, Esau's people become the Edomites. And if we go all the way back to what I started with this, two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. That was written. That happened long before Moses, and long after Moses put it down and recorded it. We have in 1 Chronicles, during the reign of David, he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. The Lord gave David the victory wherever he went. So when I listen to Isaac and his brother and the mom and him scheming, I can't lie, it really rubs me the wrong way. Oh yeah. You mean Jacob and his brother and the mom and him and Isaac scheming? Yeah, there is. It's a struggle, right? But then again, I still need to learn. And this is one that I was actually learning more and pondering more as I was reading and as I was doing these live streams. I would maybe go back and listen to what I was talking about there. But here's where I ultimately landed. And this was with some help from some of my friends who I have these discussions with. Esau, on the surface, like I said, seems like a pretty good dude. But what he is reckless and disobedient. And Jacob, in spite of all of his indiscretions and scheming and flaws, when God tells him to do something, he do it. Esau, he's probably laid back or whatever. Don't marry the Hittites. Don't marry outside of your father's nation. Your father, don't marry outside of your father's tribe. What does he do? Finds 2 Hittite women, marries 2 Hittite women against his father's wishes and against God's wishes. And Jacob, while he can be scared, he can be an opportunist. He takes advantage of people, seemingly, with deceit. When God tells him to do something, he does it. And that's throughout. We read that, and you read that throughout Jacob's life. And Jacob's a younger guy. Think of us guys in our 20s, our teens in our 20s. We don't make great out. We can be a little bit self-centered. We can do things that we shouldn't. Jacob gets a little taste of his own medicine with his uncle Laban, who is a shyster in his own right. And I think Jacob gets some perspective out of that. And I think that that's one of the real things. Jacob, like I said, kind of a jackass to people. So was I as a kid when I was young, when I was in my late teens and early to mid 20s. I was too. I feel like I still had a very kind side, but at other times I was unbearable. Yet God still chose him and made him Israel, and his 12 kids became the 12 tribes of Israel. Because what did Jacob do? He obeyed God. And as he matured and grew more, he got better. He got better at the other things. But he was still flawed. He still had a problem. He still had a big problem with keeping his kids together. But yeah, it does rub you the wrong way. People will do that. We rub God the wrong way. It's okay to have a problem sometimes with the way some people act. What's going on, Alias? How'd it go? How'd it be in? David's officials, this goes real quick. David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was over the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the recorder. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Amalek, son of Abiathar, were priests. Shavsha was secretary. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites. And David's sons were chief officials at the king's side. Nepotism! How dare you, David? King David, sorry. David defeats the Ammonites. Chapter 19. Now, in the course of time, Nahash, king of the Ammonites, died, and his son succeeded him as king. David thought, I will show kindness to Hanun, son of Nahash, because his father showed kindness to me. So David sent a delegation to express his sympathy to Hanun concerning his father. When David's envoys came to Hanun in the land of the Ammonites to express sympathy to him, the Ammonite commander said to Hanun, do you think David is honoring your father by sending envoys to you to express sympathy? Haven't his envoys come to you only to explore and spy out the country and overthrow it? So Hanun seized David's envoys, shaved them, cut off their garments at the buttocks, and sent them away. Wow, that's really showing your ass there, buddy. Yuck, 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 yuck. Like you could have just politely said no thanks and asked them to leave. But you just had to make a statement. You just had to do something. Gotta poke that bear. Gotta poke that lion. Emmanuel says, "Oh, okay. When you explain it like that, it makes sense. That's why I asked the question. Look, this was one I struggled with a while too. Not that I just didn't. I struggled because I didn't understand. I knew there was something there, but I couldn't understand why. But again, God can take the most scandalous among us, the most pious among us, the poorest among us, the richest among us, the most stuck up and the most humble. Anybody God can use to further his plan, to further his desires. And I think what that does a good job showing, is that if you see basically anybody being called, there's no reason to think that you can't be either, and that you're not worthy, even if you're perfectly average. When someone came and told David about the men, he sent messengers to meet them, for they were greatly humiliated. Yeah. Imagine walking through the Middle East with your pants cut at the butt, and they've also shaved all your hair off. The king said, "Stay at Jericho till your beards have grown, and then come back." When the Ammonites realized that they had become obnoxious to David, Hanun and the Ammonites sent 1,000 talents of silver to hire chariots and charioteers from Aram Naharaim, Aram Makkah, and Zobah. They hired 32,000 chariots and charioteers, as well as the king of Makkah with his troops, who came and camped near Medeba, while the Ammonites were mustered from their towns and moved out for battle. Yeah. Okay. Whoop. Maybe we went a little too far. Let's get some hired security, right? let's let's possibly we might want to be ready for battle. On hearing this, David sent Joab out with the entire army of fighting. The entire the entire army of fighting men. He didn't just send a detachment. I didn't send a regiment. I didn't send a division. Right? I didn't send an expeditionary force or an invasion force. I sent the army, the entire army. The Ammonites came out and drew up in battle formation at the entrance to their city, while the kings who had come were by themselves in the open country. Joab saw that there were battle lines in front of him and behind him, so he selected some of the best troops in Israel and deployed them against the Arameans. He put the rest of the men under the command of Abishai, his brother, and they were deployed against the Ammonites. Joab said, "If the Arameans are too strong for me, then you are to rescue me. But if the Ammonites are too strong for you, then I will rescue you. Be strong, and let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of our God. The Lord will do what is good in his sight." Then Joab and the troops with him advanced to fight the Arameans, and they fled before him. When the Ammonites realized that the Arameans were fleeing, they too fled before his brother Abishai and went inside the city. So Joab went back to the Jerusalem. Yeah. So they sacked it. After the Arameans saw that they had been routed by Israel, they sent messengers and had Arameans brought from beyond the Euphrates River, with Shofak, the commander of Hadadadadadazer's army, leading them. When David was told of this, he gathered all Israel and crossed the Jordan. All Israel, probably all the army. He advanced against them and formed his battle lines opposite them. David formed his lines to meet the Arameans in battle, and they fought against him, but they fled before Israel. And David killed 7,000 of their charioteers and 40,000 of their foot soldiers, and he also killed Shofak, the commander of their army. When the vassals of Hadadadadazer saw that they'd been routed by Israel, they made peace with David and became subject to him. So the Arameans were not willing to help the Ammonites anymore. I love that. I love how they wrote it. This almost sounds like Tolkien writing like Bilbo almost. He goes, when the vassals saw Hadazar saw that they had been routed by Israel, they made peace with David. Okay, yeah, let's not fight anymore, right? And the Arameans were not willing to help the Ammonites anymore. Porcupine, out of context, Joab sounds like a good guy. Joab has his moments. He has a lot of moments. Moments that are very good and moments that are downright awful. And while Joab, I think, has faith, probably has some deep faith in God, he's also has a lot of deep faith in himself and serving himself. And I think that's what ultimately led him to do the mistakes, make the mistakes that he made. Emmanuel, again, I keep hearing about Jacob, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, but he stole his brother's blessing. That's bull. But if it's about obedience, then yes, you're exactly right. And look, the Bible doesn't necessarily, Scripture doesn't necessarily say what Jacob did was right or what Rebecca said was right. It doesn't say what they did was wrong either. So we really don't know what's going on in the context there. So we have to understand it played out the way it played out. Maybe Jacob did it and he was a total scoundrel about it. Or maybe he and Rebecca realized that prophecy had said that the blessings should go to him. Or the angel of the Lord said that the blessings should go to him. Esau had acted in a way that was disobedient. They knew there's no way he should be running the household. He should not be running the family business. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways Rachel and Jacob are the good guys, and a lot of ways that they could be the bad guys too. And probably where the truth lies is somewhere in the middle. But outside of that, when we compare Esau and Jacob, what we see out of it is a man who's obedient and a man who's reckless. And that's why I think the Esau, my best impression that I get from Esau is a guy that's affable, that you enjoy hanging around. He's probably pretty cool, but he doesn't make good decisions, and he's not somebody you would want in charge of anything. You can't trust him to do the right. You can't trust him to manage things correctly. Where maybe Jacob, while staying home with mama, maybe he learns how to run things the way he run the operations. Because again, what we end up learning from Jacob was when he's living with Laban, and he's being put to work when he's with Laban, is that he's smart. He's smart not just he might not be the hunter that Esau is, but as a farmer, how he is with his livestock and how he is with his business dealings, he's shrewd. He's shrewd and he's intelligent. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, give them as much due process as possible. The Bible doesn't condemn or anything, but it does seem to paint Esau in a very negative light about him marrying the Hittites, about him easily giving up his birthright as if it wasn't all that important to him. Maybe he didn't actually want it, and then once he realized he didn't have it anymore, he was jealous. Don't know. Well, we do know that Jacob is obedient, and we do know that Jacob is the correct in line. And what we also find out is that the Edomites end up serving the Israelites, which is, and the funny thing is Esau also called Edom. We have the Edomites, and Jacob, who is also called Israel, And his people are the Israelites. And there we have it, guys. That was nice. That was good. That was pretty good. Stop screen. I love that. We leave it on a great note. David beats the snot out of them so bad that the Airmans don't want to get involved with the Ammonites BS anymore. And Emmanuel, I love these impressions. A lot of your impressions are similar to mine. This would have been really good. This would have been a really good back and forth if you had been here when I was covering this originally. That'd have been very cool. But again, then we have the same thing, like what Porcupine says with Joab sounds like a good guy. You know, we don't get the whole story all the time, so we don't understand maybe every other things that are going on. Joab does a lot of good things, does a lot of bad things too. All right, guys, we're gonna cut this one. We'll close this one out an hour. That's our normal. That's the normal length, right? And you guys have been awesome as always. So like I said, if you like this, daughter's update from Porcupine Daughter is much better today. Bus is coming along. You'll see progress on Instagram when you're back on, which will be in a couple weeks. Maybe. Wait, about a week and a half, maybe. Yeah, I think it's a week and a half. Yeah. Week and a half, I'll be back on. Instagram, I've kind of missed a little bit because of stuff like that. There's other stuff that goes on, but I really need to, like I said, I really want to change the dynamic of my social media presence with the channel and make it more of a hub and promote other faith dudes out there and ladies too. So people have a place to go for good content. All right. So with that said, Porcupine, Emmanuel, alias Dresden, Nico came in and disappeared. I think he's in class, but whatever. Guys, y'all make this show great. I mean, think of just the things that we've talked about between Joab and Jacob. How much extra we got to discuss and put into perspective today. It's amazing. Like prophecy happens throughout the Old Testament. And it doesn't just come true in the New Testament. Stuff comes true all the time. Let's just say when you stack the Bible against itself, it does not contradict itself. It supports itself. And there we go. So guys, thank you for making this show better. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the stream, like the episode. If you haven't done so already, subscribe and share. Put the word out. Put the word out. In other streams, in your day-to-day life, with the people you go to church with, maybe if you're going to church. Don't know. With whomever. But guys, be good. All right, with that said, everybody have a good night. Enjoy tomorrow. It's opening day for baseball. God bless.